It was in the winter of 1944, and it was Christmas time. We were in England, and it was very, very cold, about almost zero. And my friend and I had met two English girls, and so we were seeing them about every night. And so we decided we were going to have a big Christmas party for them because they didn't have very much food, and they would share with us. We ate at their houses sometimes. So Dutch, his name was Dutch. So Dutch and I started volunteering to work at the mess hall so we could steal food out of the commissary there. So we bought tea and all kind of food and stuff we could get. And so we saved everything we could get, and we were going to have this big party at the girls' homes for Christmas. And on Christmas Eve, we went to get our passes, which we got every day, and they said, well, you can't have them right now, but we'll see what comes up later. But so later in the afternoon, they just said that all the passes are off, we're going to ship out. So all we could do was we had to ship out, obviously. So we all got in trucks, and we went down to got on a train and went to southern England to a port down there, and we stayed at camp for a day or two till they were ready for us to board ship. So we got on this ship, and it was called the Empire Javelin. It was a Liberty ship, and about 1,500 men on it, I think, and it was a very big ship. It was a troop ship. That's all it was. And so we took off that night, and the next day, we were out in the middle of the English Channel, and it was very, very, very cold, but it was a bright, sunny day. And so it was so cold up on top that Dutch and I decided we'd go back down and get in our bunks. And so we went down, and we were clear down the bottom level of the ship. And we no sooner gotten there, I gotten in my bunk, and it was so hot down there because it was so hundreds and hundreds of guys down there. And so I took my shirt off. I had my long handle shirt underwear underneath it. And so, and no sooner got in my bunk than the torpedo hit the ship, and when it did, it made a terrible big noise, this big bang thing, and it knocked all the lights out down where we were. So it was complete darkness, and immediately you could feel the ship start to lean a little bit, and the water was just rushing in. It just sounded like Niagara Falls was going there. And of course, we tried to get out, and the only way to get out was to climb a ladder up to a compartment above us, and it was full of people, and they were climbing up the ladder out of that one to get out on the main deck. And so we just had to wait till our turn, and the guys tried to climb out, but as soon as they got up to the top of the ladder, the guys on top of them would, and the next compartment up would kick them back down because they didn't want them getting up there because their room was crowded and they couldn't get out. So finally we did get out on the deck, and when we did...
Did everybody get out?
Everybody. But they said there may have been a few people trapped down there. There were some guys that we knew were shooting crap down the bottom inside of a big wire storage cage, and they said if they went into the water, it would raise them right up to the top, and there's no way to get out. But wasn't any of our, that we knew personally at least, was ever trapped in there, and they didn't lose very many men. But anyway, we got on top of the deck, and when we got out on the deck, they made us all stand on the front of the ship and packed it just as tight as we could stand together, because the back of the ship was flush with the water, then the rail was right down in the water. So we stayed there, and they took the wounded people off in lifeboats, and they circled the ship, and then a little French, I think they called it a frigate, pulled up beside us, and it was only about half as big as we were, and it was about 10 feet lower down than we were. So they had us all, they would stand up on it was just a metal rail around the ship, and so they would have everybody would stand up on top of the rail, and the guy behind you would hold you, and he'd hold you to keep, because the ship was moving and the other ship was bumping us and all this stuff, but they'd hold you till you got there, and then someone would say, jump, and everybody was on the rail, jumped, and we jumped down to the ship down below us, and then you had to get out of the way because there come another bunch of guys right after you. And they put so many guys on that little French warship that the waves were breaking across the deck. when we pulled away from there. And we had only gone I don't know, quarter of a mile or something away, and another torpedo hit the ship and blew the whole back end of it off, and it just tipped up and bottom end first and went straight down outside. And there was an officer, I assume, somebody on the bridge of that ship that was still on it when it went under water. And so then we pulled away from there on this little ship, going real slowly, of course. And then that night it got dark, of course, and that night they put an American, I think they called it a tank, I forget now, anyway, it was a kind of ship that they could lower the front end and drive tanks right off onto the ramp or something. So it was this great big ship, and they pulled up beside us, and we had to climb up the side on rope nets, and we had to climb up in the dark, climb up, and when we got up the top of the ladder, there was I remember, it was an American ship, and there was an American Navy guy, and he's the one when I got up to the top, I started thanking him for helping me, and he just grabbed me by the shirt and just threw me over the rail, and he said, "Get out of the way," because the next guy was right behind me, so he just threw me over the rail inside the ship. So they fed us, and we just lay down on the deck and slept. Then the next morning, they took us into a port in France, and we were all they pulled the ship up on a cement ramp, and we just loaded it, got off there and walked into France. So